So, depending on what you believe, we live in a world where an awful lot of what is affecting us, we can't touch and we can't see. Some of it's clearly real. Others of it, you got to ask yourself, are they really real? A lot of it comes from the things we're told, the things we hear, the things we're indoctrinated with, that ultimately become our beliefs, that ultimately form our perception, or the lens of our perception. So, when you think about what you may know that runs and controls planet Earth, the Earth plane, this crazy-ass Shakespearean play that we're all in, everything from the archons, these are the things that you can't see or touch. So, you just got to keep in the back of your mind if these are really real. Archons, all of the different gods, the Vedic gods, the pantheon of Norse gods or Greek gods, the Christian gods, the Islamic gods, the Jewish gods, all the gods. So you've got all the angels too, fallen angels or otherwise. Some people think those fallen angels are the Nephilim. You've got guardian angels, you've got spirit guides, you've got ancestors. And then there's those ghosts and spirits and spirit forces. You've got devils, you've got demons, you've got Satan and Lucifer. You've got thought forms. You've got planetary energies, moon energy, Saturnian energy, Pluto energy, Mars energy. These planets that seem to energetically affect us, impact us, affect our mind, our energy, our thoughts, etc., etc. And if you really want to get out there into the crazy and woo-woo land, you start thinking about things that we can't see, that may or may not exist, like interdimensional beings. I mean, Aleister Crowley channeled or communicated with Iwas or Iwas or whatever that thing was. Enochian magic supposedly opens interdimensional portals and lets interdimensional entities here. Some channelers, if you believe in that stuff, seem to channel interdimensional beings. So we've got all these things that we can't see, up to and including aliens that we may not be able to see, that may exist, that affect this plane of reality, that affect this world, that affect us. That's kind of a list. Archons, gods, angels, fallen or otherwise, Nephilim, guardian angels, spirit guides, ancestors, ghosts, spirit forces, spirits, devils, demons, and there are legions upon legions of demons. Thought forms that we create from our own mind that behave oftentimes like demons or demonic forces, planetary energies, interdimensional beings, aliens. Wow. That's an awful lot of stuff that people believe exist, that control us, that control the world, etc., etc. And you can't put your finger on none of it. Now, when you start thinking about humans, thinking about human beings, what we are, how we operate, etc., etc., think about this. These are things that are very real, but you can't touch them. You can't touch knowledge or wisdom. Yet with it, humans can do the impossible. You can't touch your mind, your conscious or your subconscious mind, yet it is where you think. You got to ask yourself, what is thinking, really? But I digress. You can't touch your thoughts, yet they affect you profoundly. You can't touch your beliefs, yet they affect you profoundly. You can't touch your perception, yet it affects you profoundly. You can't touch your emotions or your feelings, yet they affect you profoundly. And you can't touch the frequency or the vibrations that you emit based off of the emotions or feelings, which are largely predicated on the perception, which is built on the beliefs that come largely from sometimes thoughts that are somewhere in the mind. When you trace it backwards, it's kind of weird. All of this affects us profoundly. You can't touch the frequency or vibration that you emit, yet those frequencies and vibrations that you emit affect you profoundly. Kind of interesting when you start really getting into the nuts and bolts of the human experience. What is the human? When you start thinking about it, your mind, your thoughts, your beliefs, your perceptions, and your emotional energy are all things that we consider to be very real, yet you can't find them. Where is your mind? Where are your thoughts? I would argue that these things exist within a frequency band or a range of frequency that we cannot see or detect. And that frequency range or that band of frequency is manipulatable. It can be affected by other things than what you think is a thought. The frequency and the vibration that we put out, we can't see it, yet we are clearly emitting by way of the EEG and the EKG. They can measure this stuff. They can put a number to it. And we're emitting an awful lot of it while we emote. We are a being that is very easily emotionally stimulatable. Think about that. So these emotions cause us to emote, that cause us to emit frequency and vibration. To do what? To feed something? The glandular system, the glandular pharmacological factory that's built right into us, is largely connected to the perception button, if you will. And when you think about it, we're being dosed with chemicals the whole time that we're experiencing and perceiving. And meanwhile, the perception is so largely built on and based on our beliefs, something you can't touch. Our perception is built on beliefs that range from an individual belief to an entire system, or all of our systems of beliefs that we group together, that effectively craft the lens of our perception. Our perception is partially built on and based on how we feel or how we felt during a particular experience, based on the chemicals that we were being dosed with. And those chemicals being so strong, they influence us. They influence our behaviors. The chemicals in our glandular systems are largely drivers of human behaviors, especially when you're dealing with the ignorant and the unaware, the emotionally immature that are ignorant and unaware of how we operate. And these are aspects of us that are being capitalized on by the evil, wicked sons of bitches that run this planet. It's how they're controlling the vast majority of people by way of their mind. Nobody's coming and physically controlling your ass for the most part. What they're doing is all this stuff in the unseen, if you will, with the things that we see that are building our perceptions, that are having an effect on us in these unseen realms of our being, of our existence. Think about it. We are being dosed with chemicals in our glandular systems, in the glandular systems within our body that are so powerful, and they know how to stimulate and manipulate us into emoting and excreting chemicals from these glandular systems by stimulating our emotions. These chemicals are so powerful that the Satanists, the Luciferians, the evil pricks, whoever these people are that are running the world, they want to torture, kill, and then extract these chemicals from the prepubescent children and consume it themselves. That's how powerful these chemicals are that we are being dosed with, that are contained within the glands in our glandular systems that we're born with. These evil pricks know how to stimulate our being, which is the mind, the perception, the beliefs, etc., in such a way that causes this glandular system to excrete chemicals that cause us to feel and emote in very specific ways. When you realize that we are energy-based beings, it starts to make sense what they're doing. Now, it gets into the airy-fairy, foo-foo, woo-woo land, or very real land, depending on what you know and depending on how tightly confined to the box your mind is. When you start asking yourself, what about this energy that we're putting out when we're doing all this emoting from fear, anger, rage, and all those fear-based type chemicals like cortisol, adrenaline, and other such chemicals that cause us to feel, thusly emote in the lower or negative energy spectrum of the human emission of energy. Why would they be driving the human population towards that energy spectrum, that frequency spectrum? Think about it. When you start to think about how we're made, all of a sudden it begins to make sense why these people are doing what they're doing. They masterfully understand how you operate and how to manipulate you and pull your strings with the information that you take in through your eyes that ultimately crafts your perception, builds on your beliefs to a large degree. Sometimes it's the information you take in through the ears that has that same effect of crafting the perception and the belief. When our perception is so largely built on beliefs, and we're consuming information from these external sources that are controlled by people that want to control you, your mind, your perception, your beliefs, all of a sudden it starts to bring into question why what's going on in this world is going on, the effect it's having on humans, and it starts to shine a light on some of the obvious end goals. In this war, they're not firing guns and bullets and tanks and bombs yet. It's an information war. It's a perception war. It's a war for the aspects of you that you are largely unaware of, that you so largely don't have control of, that they know all about. Your mind, your beliefs, your perception, your emotion, how all that ties together, thusly crafting your behavioral patterns. What you think drives the chemicals that you put out into your brain, into your body with these glandular systems that we have. What chemicals are put into your body causes you to feel things. When you feel things, you're having an emotion, for better or for worse. And then your energy begins to match the feeling that that chemical is causing you to feel. And then you start emoting and putting out into the field energy that's aligned with what you're thinking, which is largely going to be a byproduct of some information that you took in from an external source. And to such a large degree, when you think about what those external sources are and understand who controls them and who is crafting the sources of information that you're taking in and what perception they're crafting into it, what manipulations of mind and your beliefs are they crafting into it. Think about that. So all of these things are happening and having an effect on the unseen, on the mind, on the thoughts, on the beliefs that create the perception. And when the perception is solidified or calcified or locked in a cage of fear, well, look at the external manifestations that we see playing themselves out all over the world. So what do you do with all that? What do you do with that? When you look at the world you live in and contemplate the landscape of the world, and you realize that these people take advantage of and they exploit every conceivable weakness in humankind, and they generally profit or benefit from it in some way. All the weaknesses of the human mind, all of the weaknesses of the human psychology, all of the weaknesses of the human emotional body and the emotional processes, all of the weaknesses of the desires of the flesh, of the body, all of the weaknesses in our societies and in our communities, all of the weaknesses within us as a body of humanity and us individually, when you look at how the world is constructed to, as I've said before, tantalize the mind, titillate the senses, and speak to any fleshly or worldly desire that you may have and want to satisfy, carnal or otherwise. They, whatever they truly are, have corrupted everything. And there are clearly 3D manifestations of they. Clearly, there are people here, or things, beings, entities that look like human, that are here doing an awful lot to pervert this world, to pervert the minds of humans, to corrupt everything. The question is, will humanity see it? And will they do anything about it? Will they have any kind of an immune system response? Or has the immune system of the body of humanity been so wholly compromised that it cannot defend or protect itself? Think about it. As above, so below. As within, so without. We have this microcosmic assassin built right into us. It's a merciless killer when it's tuned up and ready to rock and roll, when it's in health and working correctly. And it is an assassin that is put into your body to protect you from all invaders, foreign and domestic, all enemies. Think about that. If your immune system's working and you have a cancerous tumor infect the body and starts putting the body in jeopardy, the immune system assassinates it. It kills it. It does it mercilessly, without hesitation, doesn't play patty cakes with it, doesn't ask it to leave, doesn't negotiate with it. It just kills it. When your immune system is compromised, these things do not take place, and you suffer and ultimately die. Well, microcosm, macrocosm, as within, so without. Kind of interesting what's going on in this place. Kind of interesting why. But most humans are concerned with eating, fucking, making money, getting high, watching TV, NASCAR, drinking beer, whatever it takes to occupy their mind, their time, and their attention. Again, more things that you can't see. Their time, their mind, and their attention. Think about all the aspects of us that you cannot put your hands on. You cannot touch. You cannot find where it is. Yet they are, and they profoundly affect us. And other humans on this planet or entities know about that. They know about how we operate, and they grab a hold of your strings and start playing you like a marionette, like a little puppet. Dance, little puppet, dance.